Welcome. Tonight's story is called The Night I Stayed in My Grandmother's Old House. Find a comfortable position. Allow your shoulders to soften, and let the gentle rain stay quietly in the background as we begin. The rain had already started before evening, not a storm. Not the kind of rain that asks for attention, but the steady kind that seems to belong to the night itself. It tapped softly against the roof and drifted through the trees behind the house. And by the time I arrived, the road was already shining under the last of the daylight. My grandmother's house sat at the end of a narrow lane, bordered by hibiscus bushes and tall grass that leaned inward. Whenever the wind passed through, I had not stayed there in years. When I opened the gate, it made the same low, creaking sound I remembered from childhood. The front veranda smelled faintly of rainwater, wood, and old flower pots. A single yellow bulb glowed above the door, and moths moved lazily around it, as if they were too sleepy to fly properly. I paused for a moment before going inside. The rain was louder on the metal roof than it had been from the road, but it was a comforting sound, like a blanket of tiny footsteps moving across the night. I made a cup of tea and carried it back to the veranda. The rain had darkened the garden until it was almost entirely shadow, but I could still see the outline of the mango tree near the fence. Drops fell from its leaves one by one, catching the porch light for an instant before disappearing. I wrapped both hands around the cup. It was warm. The warmth moved slowly through my fingers and into my palms. Nothing needed my attention. For the first time in a long while, I was simply sitting in the rain. After a few minutes, I noticed the smell of jasmine. My grandmother had planted jasmine vines near the steps many years ago, and the flowers always released their fragrance after sunset. The scent was light and clean, almost impossible to hold on to, and that made it feel even more precious. I closed my eyes for a moment. The rain softened. The jasmine drifted through the air, and somewhere inside the house, a clock continued its patient rhythm. Tick, tick, tick. I carried the cup inside. The kitchen light was gentle, and the rain made the windows shimmer faintly. Steam rose from the kettle in slow white curls. Shelves held old cups, jars, and tea tins, arranged with the careful neatness my grandmother always loved. The room smelled of warm tea and rainwater. I rinsed the cup and left it beside the sink. The world had become wonderfully simple. Rain, warmth, quiet. I remembered sitting in that same kitchen as a child, while my grandmother shelled beans into a metal bowl. She would tell stories in a low voice, never rushing the words. I rarely remembered the stories themselves. What I remembered was the feeling of safety. That feeling returned now, quietly, without warning, as if the house had been keeping it for me all these years. I walked through the house, turning off the lights one by one. The sitting room faded into darkness. The hallway faded into darkness. Only the bedroom lamp remained. Its soft yellow light rested against the walls and made the room feel smaller, warmer, more sheltered from the night outside. The blue curtains hung quietly beside the window. I sat on the edge of the bed and listened. Rain clock, wind through leaves. Breathing, I lay down and pulled a light blanket over myself. The mattress was firmer than I remembered, but familiar in a reassuring way. Drops gathered along the edge of the roof and fell at regular intervals outside the window. Tap, tap, tap. I watched the curtain move gently in the cool air. It swayed inward, then outward, like a slow breath. My own breathing began to follow it. In, out, in, out. The rain never stopped, but it changed constantly. Sometimes it sounded like fingers brushing paper, sometimes like distant applause, sometimes like someone quietly sweeping leaves across a path. I thought about how many nights this house had listened to rain. Hundreds, perhaps thousands. Long before I arrived, the house already knew how to hold a quiet night. I remembered another rainy evening years ago, when the electricity had gone out, and my grandmother lit a kerosene lamp. We sat near the window while she peeled oranges. The room smelled of citrus and rainwater. I had forgotten that memory completely until now. It returned so gently that it felt less like remembering and more like finding something that had been waiting patiently in a drawer. Quiet nights sometimes do that. They give forgotten memories enough silence to come home. My eyes grew heavy. The rain became softer again, almost a whisper. The window held beads of water that caught the faint light and slowly disappeared into the darkness. My shoulders softened. My hands grew warm. My jaw relaxed. The rain continued its patient conversation with the roof. I imagined each drop washing a little more tension from the day. One drop, then another, and another. The lamp beside the bed glowed softly. Beyond it, the room rested in deep shadow. Cool night air drifted through the open window. The scent of wet earth entered the room once more. Now the sounds seemed even gentler. Rain on leaves, rain on the roof, a distant night bird, and beneath all of it, a deep stillness. I let myself sink into that stillness. If your eyes wish to close now, they may close. If your thoughts wish to become lighter, they may become lighter. The house asks nothing of you. The night asks nothing of you. Stay here for a little while longer. Listen to the rain moving through the trees. Feel the softness beneath your head. Feel the cool night air near the window. Everything is safe. Everything is still. The rain grows softer. Your breathing grows softer. The night holds you gently. And when sleep arrives, as quietly as the rain itself, you may drift into it easily, gently and completely. Good night.